According to the Texas Tribune, on Sunday night, more than 1,500 people walked over from Juarez, Mexico, into El Paso. Most of the migrants said they were from Nicaragua, Peru, and Ecuador. The U.S. government can no longer expel the migrants under a pandemic policy known as Title 42.
We believe that as a Jewish people, we all believe, every rabbi holds by the same thing, that the Messiah is right around the corner. And before that comes, the whole world is freaking out and the whole world is confused.
One of the things that bugged me about as we, 2020, obviously there was an increase in excess mortality because COVID was there. Then you have the mass introduction of mRNA vaccines in 2021, and you would think that there would be a reduction in excess mortality, and there just wasn't. In the places that had really high mRNA introduction, you did not see a decline in all-cause mortality. And, it is against the law to mislead and to misrepresent, particularly when you're talking about the efficacy of a drug.
But the latest now, Dr. Fauci, is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He's now asking the Florida Supreme Court to greenlight an investigation into, and the way he put it, is any and all wrongdoing in Florida with respect to COVID-19 vaccines. What's your reaction to that?
I don't have a clue, Kate, what he's asking for. I mean, we have a vaccine that unequivocally is highly effective and safe and has saved literally millions of lives.
Our role as therapists, as psychiatrists, is in suicide prevention. And so to ask us to then facilitate suicide is very dissonant.
It began with a moment of silence in the rain. Members of Congress, Republicans and Democrats, honored the latest 3 U.S. Border Patrol agents to commit suicide in less than a month.
But unfortunately, this is not a new issue.
Henry Cuello says there have been 149 Customs and Border Protection officers since 2007, the highest being 14 so far this year and in 2009.
His name is Shlomo Yehuda. He was nicknamed Yanuka because of his mastery of the Torah and Talmud books. The title of Yanuka is given to someone who has a very deep knowledge of the Torah, Kabbalah, and Talmud.
Like with abortion, they said it's going to be rare, it's only going to be in the most dire of cases, but now we have doctors offering it to just about anybody. 10,000 Canadians in a year, those are approaching our died with COVID death numbers. It's becoming completely normalized. This is one of the leading causes of death in Canada.
There's also all of these signs being put up around New York City by a fringe sect, as it has been described online, but they are claiming that the Messiah is actually here. We know as Christians that the Messiah is not here, that he came 2,000 years ago as Yahushua HaMashiach, Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
But the problem is that people are coming in because they feel that the border's open. I don't care what the administration is saying, that the border's closed. It's not closed. All you have to do is look at the videos that you're playing right now, and you will see that the border is open, and it's not fair to the border communities. Who's speaking for the border communities? Who's looking out for the border communities? And I think the administration needs to look at that.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. This is not a news show. It's an opinion show. We encourage you to do your own research. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. Now enjoy the show.
Welcome to Burn Babylon Burn. Today in the hot seat and the guest seat, I have Aunt Laura and her friend Maria. And where are we gonna start today, y'all? A lot of news.
I'd like to say something about old Fauci, because I'm about sick of this guy. I don't know how he is getting away with it still. Oh, we're saving millions. Even on the CDC website, they have their own figures, which accounts for only 1% 1% of, and they have their own numbers of death toll. So I think it's 10,000, over 10,000 on there. Well, if they're only getting 1% of the actual true figures, that's over 1 million people dead from this thing. And I don't know if y'all know what the in the past, any vaccines that get pulled from the shelf, the number is 20. When they have 20 deaths, they pull it from the shelf. We are over 1 million. And that Jake Leg is still sitting on the news talking about how it's saving everybody. And people are croaking left and right. They've got these videos out everywhere of these clots that are being pulled out of people. They're not blood clots. They're some white fibrous material. I mean, it is just astronomical, the amount of evidence of what this is doing to people, that is killing people. And yet there they are. I mean, it just blows my mind that anybody even thinks a virus can last after 2 years and we're still going on with this. Unbelievable.
Right, and now they're coming up with new stuff. They've got something called the camel flu coming from the big soccer tournament that just happened, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah. How often are we gonna have scamdemics? I mean, they're just gonna keep us going with this stuff.
Yeah, I think as long as people are going and getting them and buying the lie, they're just going to keep on, because it's a population. They're trying to take off the population, right? They're trying to reduce the population. So as long as people are falling for it, I guess they're just going to come up with another one and another reason for people to go get a shot put in their body.
What do you think, Maria?
I think some of the very, very basic information that's out there that is even in zoology books, for people who go into animal husbandry and things like that, there might be variants and strains and viruses that can cross over to human beings. But usually, the rule of thumb for something like that is not very common. And this would be one of those deals, because if you look at, I don't know if any of you seen the documentary on Dr. Salk, or the Salk vaccines that were produced back in the 1950s and 60s. A lot of them had to do with polio, and everything that surrounded his research and work in, I don't remember exactly, the Congo, I think it was, and it had to do with polio. All of the files that were there were either abandoned, destroyed, burned off, sealed off. And a lot of what was found basically said one thing, and it was conclusive, that these viruses could not jump from human beings or to human beings from animals. They had to be introduced. And a lot of the vaccines that you see today use the liver enzymes, which is one of the major indicators that something's gone wrong with your body when it's introduced to a bad vaccine or a virus. It attacks the liver. And prior to, I believe it was 1976, nobody had seen anything like hepatitis B or hepatitis C. And then, of course, in the early 1980s, you had the HIV and AIDS scare and all of pandemic that was. And so a lot of that research that is associated with both the AIDS and HIV and hepatitis ties back to very basic information found in the Salk files that said that in order to introduce certain viruses to the human population, it had to be copulated with something that could be mimicked by the human body. And a lot of that was found in liver and kidney enzymes. So when you look at the CDC website and you look at their files that talk about the information of what's in these vaccines, you're going to see liver enzymes, kidney enzymes, all kinds of animal tissues that can be absorbed by the human body. These are not my words. This is not my thoughts. This is their research telling you what they found.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So here we've got this new technology, this mRNA, and the cool thing. I see that DeSantis is going after Fauci about it because it's, you know, it wasn't properly tested. They told you it wasn't properly tested. People still stuck their arm out. But they told you that they weren't testing this stuff, and people still did it. And now here we are. And Fauci, I guess, is on his way out. He says he's on his way out, but he's been doing a media tour. He went and vaccinated Santa Claus and all the other nonsense that that people like Fauci do on the news. But he still hasn't gone away. He was in his position where he could fund a lot of these people that got him to where he's at. And you were just talking about polio. Only people that I've ever met with polio is people that took the polio vaccine.
What are you saying about it? You're wondering if what?
That's interesting.
There's two people, a childhood friend of mine, his parents were both injured by the polio vaccine, and they were practically crippled. And and that's the only people that I knew that ever had anything with it.
Well, okay, so I got something to say about that. I bought a book.
Ironically, I think some of the
Go ahead, Maria.
No, I mean, can you hear me okay? Because I feel like you can't. I don't know.
I think there's just
a lot of the hepatitis.
You're good.
Okay. All I was going to add was a lot of the hepatitis cases in people over 50 are also associated with polio vaccines that they got when they were kids. So it's like a time release. So, and that's from people who have actually talked to who said, well, you know, I have hepatitis now.
It's really interesting because AIDS sprung up in an area in San Francisco where they were vaccinating people against hepatitis. So what's going on?
Well, this is what I found, Andy. Okay, so there's a book online. You can go on Amazon, and it's called Vaccines, the Biggest Medical Fraud in History. And I bought it, and I haven't read it yet. But what it is saying is that a lot of our vaccines, that the way that we were all taught when we were kids that you had to get vaccines for polio and all this other stuff, right? And then the schools say, well, you have to have it to be able to go to public school and all of that. Well, what they're doing now with COVID, they're jacking all the numbers up. They're incentivizing. They're giving money to the hospitals to say it's COVID when it's not, to say it's a COVID death when it's not, when they die in a car crash even, and it's all to fudge the numbers so that in 20 or 30 years from now, it looks like COVID killed everybody. But what really killed everybody was the vaccine. And that's exactly what that book is about. And that's exactly what they did with polio and all the other garbage. So the Bible tells you that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we really are. God made our immune systems so kick-ass that yes, you will get sick. Yes, you may be down and out for 2 or 3 days. You put fluids in you and then eat your chicken noodle soup and you're up and running again. That's how it works. It's just a miraculous immune system. But we go and trust man instead and go stick all this stuff in our body. And now you've got more people with vaccine injuries than you do the deaths. But the deaths are already off the charts and they're not pulling it from the shelf. So it flat out tells you there's a depopulation agenda.
Yeah, I think so too. There's just too many things that make this seem like something. Plus, as a lot of people know, I've been a big InfoWars fan for a long time, and Alex Jones was warning about this in 2005. Yeah, I don't even think he remembered that whenever this first came around, but I remember whenever this sprung up, I was like, they said that they were going to basically take us down with a lot of vaccines, and that was way before that. But you know, this was something that he was talking about back then, back whenever I was 25 years old.
Wow.
But
Wow. I also I've been praying and asking for the Lord to make a way for people to be healed that took that thing and regret it. And there is a lady on Facebook. She has a Facebook page called God's Herbs Heal, and she's a master herbalist, and she's a horticulturist. She grows her own herbs and everything, and she has made a three-part solution that is people, their testimonies on there, people with videos and pictures saying, I was vaccine injured, I could not get out of the bed, I literally could not walk. And they've got pictures with their IV pole, and they're dressed and standing in the mirror and smiling. So I'm praying that a lot of people who regret putting that stuff in their body are going to have a way to get healed from it now, because a lot of people are getting savvy to what's going on.
Yeah. Maria?
Well, I would say that some of the things that I have heard about the vaccine injury associated with this particular vaccine is not just the clusters, like Laura was saying, of these almost elastic material that is being pulled out of people's veins and arteries. It's also the coagulation of the blood. And I think that is one of the things when your body comes in contact with a foreign anything, a virus, bacteria, one of the first things that it does is that the white blood cells go on the defensive. And it's been a while since I've read any medical journals or anything like that. So if I get any of this wrong, don't burn me at the stake. But what I am saying is that one of the common things that they found was, the blood start sticking together. And so I didn't know, because the audio is kind of off there, but so remember when President Trump mentioned something about chlorine or something, and people laughed at him and said, well, if you ingest chlorine, or if you put chlorine into the blood system, you'll just poison yourself and die. But there are compounds in, like chlorine dioxide, which I wasn't going to say it, not because I didn't want to share it, because I don't want people shutting it down, that has been known to oxygenize the blood, and it helps in things like cancer and different viruses and bacteria. And so, this, and if it's an issue about foreign things floating through your body, this is something that could help. I'm not saying it's going to cure it, but I am saying it could help, get rid of those things. And then it's up to the person to just maintenance themselves, going to an herbalist, a naturopath, whoever they can trust, that is not mainstream pushing all these vaccines. And that's the thing, because they are incentivized. So they're going to push whatever, the CDC guidelines say, which are not necessarily rules to, that you have to follow. They're just suggestions, but they're going to go with it because there's a money figure attached to it. But there are things I feel that you can do to eliminate it or reduce whatever it is that you're going through. People just need to look.
Yeah, I've heard some things about pine needle tea, but I we're not doctors. We just, we're just giving our opinions based off of things that we've heard and things that we've seen. But my personal thoughts, my opinion this whole time was stay away from that stuff. And every single recommendation that they've given has been something that I didn't take to heart. So, I've gone to nearly every truck stop in this country, every dock. I've been in bus stations. I've been on airplanes this whole time, because that's what my job does. I haven't even gotten sick. I maybe had a cold for like a day or something like that, but nothing really sick, and everybody overreacted to this, and they did what the news told them to do, and I feel bad for them, but also I don't, in a way that they decided to do that because they got scared, and that, you know, it's like if you live your life ruled by the fear that the news will tell you to do something that's probably not good for you.
Yeah, they thrive on fear, right? I mean, it's all they do is fear porn, fear porn. If it doesn't have a fear factor anymore, then they ditch it and start with something new.
Yeah. And so that brings us to Canada.
I'd say that the element.
Oh, go ahead.
No, don't worry about it.
No, go ahead.
No, all I was going to say was, because Laura said fear, 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 there is that definite universal, everybody was afraid and everybody was saying the same message as far as do. So, you know, I don't believe that this was on accident. If it was released from China, guarantee there's documentation out there that traces it right back to the NIH and people like that. Believe it or not, I'm just going to throw this out there. I couldn't find her because I watched it about 6 months before this whole pandemic broke out, which was there was a video from a science lab in Wuhan that put out a commercial. It's like a 30-minute commercial on YouTube, and it was talking about their science labs and their projects with working with bats, vampire bats that lived in a cave, or fruit bats, or whichever one it was. But that was the thing. And it was on YouTube for over 6 months. The pandemic hit, they pulled that video. I went back into my history, couldn't find it. And that was another thing. YouTube used to have extensive histories where you could go back and look at what you looked at last year. And all of a sudden, all your history is deleted. You can only get what you saw in the last 30 days, if that.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, they broke their own system in order to keep us from knowing things. But you know, we call that memory holing. Whenever they take a story and they completely get rid of it, so that it just is forgotten by everybody, because we've gotten to where we rely on technology so much that we're like, oh yeah, I can just open that link up again anytime and it's gone. But you know, we've as a culture kind of forgotten how to remember, and because everything's so accessible, it's not accessible anymore. But they broke it. They broke their own system in order to get us here. So we're here. We're in a place where we're using their weapon that they use against us, hopefully against them.
Yeah, in a way, you're right. But then in a way too, I listen to people's testimonies that the only way they can have any peace of mind is if they literally get away from all technology and just go into the woods. And one lady even talked about sleeping. She had a sleeping bag out there. She had to go sleep in the woods just to get all of the I don't know, I guess all the frequencies and stuff to chill, just to chill out. And people don't do that anymore. I mean, look at kids everything is so accessible. Like you said, kids are on a dopamine high constantly, because with the phone, everything is, I won a game, flashing lights, this thing, that thing, learn this, learn that. And then they just crash and burn. And then they're just walk around like zombies. They can't even interact with other human beings on a normal level. It's just sad. It's just sad to watch. I think we need to just throw all the crap in the garbage.
Yep. Ted Kaczynski was a prophet. All right. So in Canada, there's a leading cause of death now, and it's euthanasia. And so with their medical system, where they supposedly take care of every single thing, that whenever people are applying for things, now they're suggesting that people just take themselves out. This woman was applying for a stair lift, and they're like, well, have you considered euthanasia? Like, really? she's an athlete too, and she's a, what's that? Sorry, I'm the signal's sounding a little weird right now. But yeah, it's okay. So she's a quadriplegic athlete, and she applies for a chairlift, and they're like, well, have you considered killing yourself? And so this is how they're doing things in Canada now. And the people of the Great Reset are suggesting people do this. Go ahead. I think something's wrong with our signal. Let me fix it. See if that gets better. But they're suggesting even people take their pets out for the environment, and this is a weird like culture of death thing that we're dealing with.
Well, and on that,
Laura, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. I was going to say, and on that clip, that woman that was talking about 10,000 deaths in Canada already. I mean, that's just mind-boggling to me. She said that's as many deaths as COVID, as we've had for COVID. That's just mind-boggling to me that many people, and it's heartbreaking because what these people are wanting is they need deliverance. They need deliverance. They need, freedom from all of the harmful frequencies and foods and crap that goes in the air. That a lot of kids these days, they don't even see a like a point to get married and have kids. They don't want to because they can already see they're devastated. They don't even want to be here. So people are just trying to look for an out. They're just wanting to get out of this world. And honestly, I mean, because I found it, because I know both sides of this road, the only thing that is going to make people have peace is Jesus Christ. It's the truth. And if you don't have it and you don't know him, then you can't knock it until you do. And I have never met one person that became a Christian and gave their life to Jesus and started interacting with him and said they regret it. Not one, ever. Nobody. So it is true. It is true. It is the only way, to find that peace, because we are in a demonic world and the God of this world is Satan. And obviously, I mean, look at who's running big pharma, big tech, the entertainment industry and everything else, the education system, the finance system, the political system, the military, I mean, everything. They are running all of it. So clearly, Satan's the God of this world, like it tells you in the Bible. And the only way for us to get through it is to have a peace that surpasses understanding. And that's what the Bible tells you get. So to me, that's the only answer. It just breaks my heart that these people are opting to kill themselves just to get out of this place.
Maria?
Okay, it was muted for a minute, and I'm glad because it fell off its little holding. Well, I do agree with everything Laura said, but also you have to kind of consider all of the things that have been in play for the last 100, 200 years almost. And people forget because they're not aware of it. And I know the camera is doing something funny in it. Hold on. Okay, so in the turn of the century, maybe late 1800s, there was a lot of the social agenda, with the enlightenment crew coming in and teaching all these social agendas and everything. You had people like Aleister Crowley, you had, I can't think of his name right now, but Darwin, his cousin was also a medical doctor, and he, was one of the groundbreakers, if not the founder of the eugenics movement. And to him, there was nothing sacred about human life. To him, it was just like, you're just alive and then you're not. And then he ended up rejecting all forms of Christian theology and just accepting, the worldly. And a lot of what we're seeing is based on those things. I think you had cases, like legal cases at turn of the century, that had to do with eugenics and with forced vaccinations and mutilations, such as the removal of bodily organs like the uterus, the hysterectomies. All of that came from this movement because it's a hatred. It's a hatred for human life. It's a hatred for, the divine things, the order of God for society. And so, Darwin's cousin, who was also a part of this abortionist eugenics movement, he ended up converting to some kind of cultish religion, to where it's like, well, this fits my socialist views better, and therefore I'm going to agree with this religion because it's creating a God in my own image. This God agrees with what I think is important, and I don't think human life is important. And I think that, human sexuality is subjective, and it's not what God says, man and woman and their purposes. And that's what we see, not just in the medical field, but in society, a vast, and people think that it's just a recent development. And, oh, how did we get here? It moves so fast. This has been in the works for at least 150 years. And all of it has to do with the removal of God, the removal of family. Sex is subjective. Life, it may not be worth anything. A lot of what they tell you is, what's the nominal value that you can put to life? Do you have a good quality of life versus, do you enjoy life? Do you have a belief system? Do you love your family? To them, it's not about that. It's, well, life worth, what did the Nazis say? Life not worth of living? Isn't that how they labeled them at first? And that was children and the elderly that they went after. Ironically, the same group that they're going after now, the children and the elderly. This eugenics movement in Canada is seated in all this demonic, for lack of better words, because a lot of these people all ran in very tight circles. They all knew each other. They were all demonic. They were all into the occult, and they all believed this way. And when you look at what's going on today, it's the same thing.
Club of Rome, Sir Francis Galton, and let's see, Darwin. This is something. Yeah.
Totally agree. I totally agree. Yep. And
it's in the. It's. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, I kind of keep going on and on. But the only other thing that I really wanted to add to that, there was two cases. One of them had to do with forced vaccinations. I think it was in 1924, and the other one, oh, I'm sorry, no, that was wrong, 1942. And this was the very first singled out case of autism. The only one, the first one ever recorded. Wow. And this gentleman ended up getting subjected to vaccinations because of his lack of mental aptitude. And I want to bring that to the surface because a lot of what's going on in Canada is associated with depression and mental illness. I knew about a year ago that they were pushing this mental illness thing a little too hard. And when I dug in, that is the first thing that I found was that, once you've become incompetent in the eyes of the court, then you become a ward of the state, and the state gets to choose to do with you whatever it deems necessary. And people who suffer from gender dysphoria, depression, you see them on TikTok labeling themselves, really acting it out. If there's anybody on here that's going to listen to that or has known someone who listens to that, I want them to think very carefully about what they're labeling themselves: incompetent, depressed, unable to make rational decisions. And they've got video, because the internet is forever. And you can't go into a court of law and say, I can make my own decisions, if they've got evidence stacked against you that proves the opposite. They will make you a ward of the state, and they will do with you whatever they want. And that is a real thing.
We are on a precipice with that. And so also we've got the suicides in Canada, but we have suicides right here at the border. A lot of border agents have killed themselves lately right now, as thousands are pouring over the border because of some pandemic law that is expiring about it's about seeking asylum. And so all of these people are coming over and seeking asylum. These are not Mexicans.
Mm-mm. No, they're not. No, they are. Look, me and Maria both live right here. Maria lives right there in Uvalde, where all of that horrible stuff happened at the school, and I'm just north of her. So we're both like an hour away from the border, and I saw a diagram the other day, Andy, and it was a picture of Texas with all of the counties and which ones were red and which ones were blue. It was blue all across the border and just a ways up, about 2 to 3 counties in. And and then it turns red. The whole rest of the way is red. It's super obvious what they're doing. I mean, and then they have that agenda on that article I sent you. I forget the name of that agenda, but that was started way back when Bush Senior was in there, to remove the borders and make the North America all one, make it all one section, one unit, one country, so to speak. Well, the only place that anybody wants to come is into America. You don't see Americans running the other way, for the cartels and everything. You see them running this way for now anyway, but they are dissolving those borders on purpose. And there was an act, or do you remember that article that I sent you, what the name of that was?
Yeah, it was talking about the North American Union, but I don't know the specific act.
Yeah, I forget it too, but they're just reinstating that. They're just it's a plan. It's a plan behind the scenes, right. And all they're doing is pushing it.
And so this goes into what a lot of people call replacement theory, that that whites are being replaced in America. And as you said, that whole border area that's blue, I've been looking for property in that area, and I checked the demographics and the crime rate of the areas that I'm trying to move into, and white people are 10% in those areas. And so it seems like that's part of an agenda as well. And I'm seeing it play out in other places too, Europe, as far as, like that's where white people came from. And George Soros is sticking these refugees into all the countries there. And was mentioned before in the show that women in France can't even dress provocatively anymore, or they might get stabbed by a Muslim.
Wow. Well, and here's a whole nother spin on that. Beto, wants to take the guns and everything. If they get enough blue, to turn blue, and they get him in there, because if they get Texas, if they can get the guns from Texas, then it's over for the whole nation. You know what I'm saying? So, because there's so many Texans that have guns, it's unbelievable. I mean, like everybody has a gun in Texas. So that's a whole nother spin on it too.
Yeah. Maria? Go ahead. I unmuted you. I don't think she heard me. I wonder if there's a delay. If
There
there's something
is,
wrong with your signal. Yeah.
It's a severe delay on going to her.
Oh, she's talking now. See me. Well, I don't hear her at all.
I don't hear it.
Sorry about this, y'all. A little bit of technical difficulties. When you do a live show.
Yes, I'm here. I'm just trying to adjust. I think something's going on here, but no, that's true. There is been a lot of that. I know the map you're talking about. I can't remember the title of it, but I have seen it.
Oh, you've seen it too?
Okay, I didn't know. I had seen the map that Laura was talking about. I don't remember the title of it, but that actually didn't come out of the Department of the Navy or something like that, Laura?
No, that was actually just something that was generated here recently, and it was just showing an up-to-date change in demographic of as far as Democrat and Republican, and it showed just, I mean, the entire border of Texas, all the way across it was blue on the border, 2 to 3 counties in.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
We hear you.
Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
I think our delay has gotten too long. So we can do our last story and then get reconnected with Maria. How's that sound to you, Laura?
Can you hear me?
Cool. I'm gonna mute her for now, and we'll just finish up. I don't have a transition for this, but there's this guy going around in Israel saying that, or people are saying that this guy is the Messiah. What do you think of this story here?
It tells you in the Bible that there will be many who claim to be the Messiah. He's not the Messiah, but what I find funny is he kind of looks like Jesus. And he does.
I didn't see a close up of his face, just a lot of rabbis in a room and everything like that.
Oh, he's
but
long hair and everything, and
okay.
And the Lord does say when Jesus was here, the real Messiah was here. He said, "Me you will not accept, but another will come in my name, and him you will accept." So, and we're warned over and over. Now, if he was the real Messiah or fake Messiah, I mean, then I think we would see more biblical, because that's supposed to be mid-trib when the Antichrist makes himself known, and a whole lot of things. There's a whole lot of things that are happening at mid-trib. So he's not the real one. He's not the real one, but I just find it funny. The rabbis think that he's the Messiah because he knows the Talmud. That's their criteria. That's pretty pathetic. That's their criteria. The Talmud is nothing but traditions, Jewish traditions, and Jesus even addressed the Pharisees and said, "Oh, you do love your traditions, don't you?" And they nullify the word of God. So,
and these
we all
people
go ahead.
that are propping him up, the people that are propping him up are like the modern day Pharisees.
Yeah, they are. They absolutely are. They're from the Pharisees. The only ones that can be in the quote unquote priesthood, they have to show proof of lineage from the priesthood back in Jesus's day. Well, the only problem with that is the priesthood had already been usurped in Jesus's day. That's why Jesus was saying, "You brood of vipers," and he's calling them all these names. "Your father's the devil." He's saying all that stuff to them because the priesthood had already been usurped. They weren't even real Judahites. I don't even like using the word Jews because there's a whole mix up on that word too. Judahites is the people of the tribe of Judah, or the 2 tribes of the southern kingdom, which were Judah and Benjamin. And they called them Judahites or Jews because Judah was the dominant tribe. But when they went into captivity and came back, there were people that had already moved into that region, in the Judean region, that called themselves Jews, and they're not from the 12 tribes. They're not from any of them. They're Edomites. They're from Esau. And so there's a whole mix up on who's a Jew. And in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9, Jesus specifically says, these are they who call themselves Jews, but indeed they are the synagogue of Satan. That's who they are. That's who's running that, political Israel over there, the political state of Israel. That's who's running it, is these fake Jews, and who are not from the 12 tribes of Israel. They're not even from that. And that is why these rabbis are promoting a man. They can't ever seem to get it right, the truth that Jesus Christ is the Messiah. They're not going to, because their father is the devil, like Jesus said. They don't love the truth. They love the lie, and that's what they're going for. So
right.
It's interesting. It really is.
I've seen some videos of rabbis saying that when the Messiah comes, that all of us are going to be their slaves. So and
yes,
yeah.
They do believe that. So Judaism is just another occultic religion. It's just another one. Once Jesus died and was resurrected, there is no Jew or Gentile. It tells you that in the Bible. Everyone can only get to God one way, through Jesus Christ, period. That's it. And so, the whole, people these days, it's called Hebraic roots movement. There's a lot of people that are, following the Hebrew roots that get tied into all the Judaism stuff. And Judaism and Talmud and all of that is traditions that those people made up. And those people are not even from the 12 tribes of Israel. So you're following the wrong crowd. I just tell people, just read your Bible and do what it says. Just stick there. Just stay there. Because all this other stuff, it literally is occultic, and you start getting into Judaism and Kabbalahism, Kabbalah, and you're straight up in occultic stuff now. So it's gotten so off track, and there are so many religions, and then there's one truth. I just tell people, stay out of religion and just stay in the Word. In the Word, Jesus Christ is the Word. It tells you that in Revelation 19, that He is the Word of God. So, it's getting interesting, isn't it? It's getting very interesting.
Yeah, we're in some interesting times. Do you have anything to add, Maria, now that you're back? I don't think she heard me.
Mic was on.
Okay. Yeah, you're back. All right. Well, I guess if you have anything else, Laura, go ahead and add it right here. I'm going to finish the stream.
Okay. No, I think I'm good, Andy. I appreciate it. I enjoy it.
All right. Yeah, awesome. And Laura's going to be in the Doom Kitchen this week, so that'll be great. And that's coming up next. So we'll be able to talk about more stuff then.
Bye.
I'm white. I'm black. I'm yellow. I'm red. I'm gay.
And I am the Drizzle, host of Grand Theft World Liberty Radio. Look, man, here's the deal. If you're not listening to Liberty Radio, then you've got a problem with yourself.
Getting that shot really was an amazing feeling. It hits you.